Hello and welcome to the PolyInnovator channel. This is the Now page update for May 2026, and I don't necessarily know what to say in this video today. Again, once a month I do these updates. I call them the Now page updates because of Derek Sever's Now page concept, where like an About page on your website, you have a Now page where you just say like what's going on professionally and personally in your life. I took it upon myself to make it into a series, and then I actually, like a blogging series, then I turned it into a video series. So I wanted to kind of take this a step further and be able to share with you visually and verbally what's going on in my life. And then I also make a blog post version of it too. Sometimes I'll make either one first. So first and foremost, I just got back from NAB show about a week ago, which was an interesting conference I've gone to the last few years. However, I got to speak on a panel this year, which was my first in-person speaking engagement. I've done moderating for a panel virtually, and I got to participate in a panel in IRL this year. So that was really interesting to me. I actually almost was actually going to be moderating the panel, but it kind of changed last minute, and that's okay, it's fine, whatever. But other than that, I was able to go to this conference again, and it was out of pocket. I was even saying how I went stag. No sponsors, nothing like that. I just went by myself this year and last year. I had some hell with my accommodations and travel this year, so I think I talked about it more on a different video, but I'll kind of quickly touch on it here. There was a tornado happening as I was trying to get on the plane out at the airport here in Missouri, within 2 miles of the airport. So we actually got delayed, and all of us, including the airport staff, had to go into a back concrete room and just wait there for an hour and a half, which was very, very annoying. And then because of that, all of us had connecting flights. We all missed our connecting flights, and they didn't give us a hotel voucher or food voucher. And so we're stuck in the Dallas airport overnight, which was very brutal, especially since there wasn't really any good places to sleep. And I couldn't, it's kind of like Skyrim and Fallout, where you couldn't wait when there's enemies nearby. And so I couldn't rest because there was strangers all around us. And I looked online to see if there's any place to sleep. There wasn't really anything that I could do, and so I found like a little mezzanine area, but people were already there. So yeah, besides that, I have also accumulated various tech, and I got a tech organizer recently right before the trip, and so I wanted to kind of show it to you here. I think I made a video on this channel about it. I started making more travel based content as well on this channel just because I enjoy this type of stuff. So that is kind of new, where I've been getting more and more into the travel products. Recently, I actually, I've gone on a few trips with my TomTalk Navigator backpack, which is a travel backpack. I have had some issues with it, even the sling too. The only thing that really kind of worked out was this tech organizer, and even though it has the same issue where in the backpack, the sling and the actual organizer here, it doesn't necessarily make use of all the pockets. So if you try to take advantage of having all these different pockets and put anything in them, they don't allow any kind of clearance. So if you take advantage of one pocket selection, I guess you could say, it makes the other selection not as useful. So there's pockets inside the sling, for example, and there's pockets on a front pocket in that sling. But if you use one or the other, it kind of push into each other. So now you can't use that space in between, which is where you would put the more bulky stuff. So you kind of have to choose between those internal ones or external ones if you want to make use of that middle space. Same thing goes if you put a tablet in there, which is why I bought the sling. And then the backpack, for example, has the same issue where there's a front pocket. It's a little bit too big, so you actually can't find anything when you actually use it. And then on top of that, the top pocket, which actually is somewhat usable, but it's not easily accessible. And so because of that, if you use either pocket, it goes into the internal space, and it basically causes you to not be able to make a full advantage of that internal space, which is why you get a bag like that, because it's pretty empty otherwise. So I've been thinking about getting a different organizing bag. So I'm just mentioning that because of the trip. I actually had hell with my accommodations. I had to get 2 different Airbnbs, then a hotel. So splitting between those different places, I had to carry my bag with me at the event, which I wouldn't say it was embarrassing, but it was like 25 pounds, and it's a big, bulky bag. And so bringing that with me to places was definitely very tedious. And so I wanted to mention that I'm looking into different bags, and because of that, I'm making more travel content. And I'm also wanting to do more speaking engagements. And I got to meet a lot of people from companies I want to work with, like Hollyland or Insta360. And I really want to work with these brands more. That's it. And then I also tried to upgrade my setup a little bit here, cleaned up some of the tech. You can see some of the tech that I had here, over here in this corner. I'm actually trying to downsize, and I have all these different organizing containers that I think that were really helpful at the time, but now they kind of just take up too much bulk. And if I want to downsize or travel, I need less bulk, which is why I actually got this, because I use this for traveling, but I wanted to use it also as kind of like my main tech pouch. Like if I have anything I want to use, like flash drives and stuff like that, it'll go in there. And then I can bring it with me on trips or whatever. So all this stuff that I'm mentioning might seem disparate, and there's different things. Like it seems like I'm going through three different topics, but they're all related. And the traveling for speaking, the travel content, and then even my technology, they're all kind of coming together in a unique way. And I'm really excited about the prospects of downsizing and being able to travel more and that kind of thing. And someone said on this trip that I really need to upgrade my setup a bit more. So I'm going to probably start recording it in 4K or maybe 1440p. That might be a good idea, actually, just to improve the visual fidelity. But also, too, maybe I'll rearrange this whole setup here. But I actually sold one of my lights before the trip, and now I actually got a secondary light. And they're both the square Lytra bar, or not bar. I had the bar, but I sold it. And now I have two twin square lights, and I think that actually might work out a little bit better. And then I put up some pictures. I think that the Singapore picture was up relatively recently, but the William Zabka signed picture right there. I put up my poster again, which I took down for a while because I needed to sell the poster frame, and I just put tax on this time. I was like, screw it, let's just put tax on. But I wanted to have more visual fidelity going on here. I even have a little Lego set that put up there. Stuff like that to make the background more interesting. I need to use more of a fill light behind me to kind of create this ambiance, but in general, I'll try to improve the quality more if I can. Other than that, what's new in life? I've definitely been struggling with mental health, and I think that this is probably the only place I can really talk about it, because in my regular videos, unless I'm making a specifically creator mental health video, I probably wouldn't talk about it. But I think that due to some external circumstances over the year, this year, not just geopolitical, but even just other aspects behind external pressures, have definitely led me to have this external stress that's very much deeply embedded into my life as of late. And then on top of that, I've been having issues with just like getting enough income. So that's one reason why I've been selling stuff. And so that's definitely been putting a lot of weight on me, and that's been hard to get past. I've been trying to still produce a lot of content, and even today I worked on an old post that I started in April last year, and then haven't touched it for the last year, literally a whole year. And so I started working on that today. Hopefully I'll release it today. I actually kind of already scheduled a post going out linking to it. So I kind of did that to make myself motivated to finish it. So things like that to just try to get myself ahead. I'm looking at my calendar right now for posting, and there's like 8 to 10 content pieces that I need to make. And, or maybe 9, I guess one of them was done. But because of that, I'm like, okay, now I'm stressed. Now I need to get that done. So I'm working on the Now page update because I try to get that done on the 1st of every month. And there was a few months where I failed at that, and I hate that feeling. So it makes me pretty motivated to get this done. And that's one reason why I wanted to make this video first. I was more motivated to set up my lights and kind of get the whole setup down again and see how this will work. So that's why I wanted to make this video first, and then I'll make the blog post. Again, sometimes I make the blog post first. Other than that, I have been running karaoke at this new bar for, half a year now almost. And it's one of those things where I started doing it full time about 4.5 months ago. I did have an issue where, I guess this is the only place I could talk about it actually, where about 2 years ago, year and 3/4 ago, I stopped working at the old karaoke bar for many different reasons, partially because I got screwed over not once, but twice by this establishment. And because of that, I no longer wanted to go to the establishment, let alone work there. And while I've gone back there a couple times, I even worked there like once since then because I was desperate for somebody and I needed an income. I decided to do it. It did feel weird, and I didn't really quite want to do it again after that. But besides those rare moments of going, I don't go there anymore. However, for the last couple years, they had taken a whole bunch of pictures around the time I left, and they've been using those pictures to market the karaoke nights Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so I'm in those pictures. And so I thought, I don't go to this place. I don't like going to this place anymore. And yet, for some reason, they're still using my likeness every single week to attract people to come in. And I've had a few people recently even mention to me like, hey, I saw you on their posts. What is that about? And I told them over the years, stop using my likeness. I don't endorse using this photo of me anymore. I only endorsed it way back when I was still with them. And I've mentioned a few times, and then recently someone mentioned to me like a few days ago that they're still using the photos. So I reached out to them again politely, requesting that they don't use my likeness anymore. And I was getting to the point where if they didn't do anything, I was going to have to do a cease and desist, or at the very least a notarized letter. And these are things that I did not want to scale up to. But luckily, as of today, which is the first karaoke night this week, no, today's Friday, second karaoke night, right? Yes. Second karaoke night this week, they did not use my photo. They still used the same photos, but they cropped me out of one of them, and the other one, they covered my face. So that works for me. I just don't want my likeness being used for a place I don't endorse. And so I thought that was kind of an interesting scenario where I am a content creator, and I don't normally have this issue because I'm not a big content creator of someone using my likeness. And this kind of goes into like AI too. People can use AI. I actually talked to somebody at NAB about this very concept where their company basically is the middleman for a creator and a brand to use the likeness of a creator to create ads. And while that could be very lucrative for the creator, it could actually kind of be a double-edged sword though, because you're basically giving them rights to your face. And as a personal brand, that is a big deal. That is your whole brand, is your face, is who you are. And so I wanted to take it pretty seriously when someone's using my face without my permission. And I think that this was a good learning experience for me too, especially since the consequences are not that damning, and they weren't doing it nefariously. They were just using the pictures that they had taken a while back. They just didn't want to make new ones. So that's fine. I get that. But it was interesting to me, this whole experience, where it's like, okay, that might have led to having to use some sort of legal action. So I'm glad that they went out of their way to make some new pictures, just like modify the old ones, I guess, but I appreciate them doing that. So other than that, as a content creator though, I have been trying to reach out to more brands and work with them and let them use my face and create some user-generated content for them. Like Insta360 was the first booth I went to at NAB, and I actually spent a lot of time there exploring the different products, and I already knew quite a lot about like their gimbal, and I knew of their webcam and stuff like that, but I didn't know some of the other products that they had, and there are some really interesting ones there. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is that I'm probably going to create more videos about them over the coming months, especially on the creator channel, but maybe even on this PolyInnovator channel, because of how much I want to work with them. And one of which was like the gimbal, right? I've been looking at a gimbal online. I had a DJI one a while back, but it was so bulky. And even the subsequential, the ones that came after, right? Subsequential, there we go. Gimbals that came out after the one I had were still bulky, and they still required the use of their crappy app. And DJI has a whole tariff issue too, where their products are like double the cost now. And so not only do I think that the usability and user experience of those products are not that great, but they also cost way more. So they came out, I think it's through DJI, no one's really confirming it, but they came out with the Extra Muse, which was the DJI Pocket 3 clone. However, now, Insta360 has a lot more products too, and they're basically at that same level, if not maybe more in some ways than DJI. Now they have their Luna. Or is it Luna? I think it's Luna. And the Luna camera is basically their Pocket 3, but it has two lenses. They have two different models too, I think. One has a single lens, one has dual lens. But the dual lens one has Leica certification and is a lot of really interesting features to it. I don't think I'm allowed to talk much about some of the features because I only heard through the grapevine. But there's a lot of really great things that are coming out of this camera, and some of the other cameras too on the market too, like their little square one. I don't remember the name. There's also the Ace Magic, no, not Ace Magic, Ace Pro 2. That's what it was. Ace Pro 2. Ace Magic is a mini PC brand, but Ace Pro 2 can have a lot of different features, and like going underwater, and this, the way you can enhance these cameras with the accessories, turning them into full-fledged cameras if you wanted to, or even having a printer. So you can see right about there. There's a picture of me at their booth. And that picture was printed in that moment. It took like, I don't know, 5 minutes or whatever, but it was printed in that moment, and I was able to get that like experience. And I thought that was really interesting. They have a little printer for cameras, and you can use whatever camera you want with it, or ideally you'd probably use one of their cameras. But the fact that you can just have a little printer like that and take it with you to conferences and stuff like that, I thought it was a really interesting experience. And I thought like that's something that they're really thinking creatively for creators. And one more product before I move on, because I'm really excited about this brand, is this little microphone. So I have the Hollyland knockoffs. I'm wearing a Hollyland hat, but these are the knockoffs, Wavelength. These are pretty good, but they're, just a simple mic, nothing to them. And while the Hollyland will be more minimalist and actually take up less space, and better quality probably too. They're also like double the cost. And I actually got these for like $30 because they're on sale. And so it's one of those things where like, okay, I don't really want to spend that much money just yet, but I do think I should level up to Hollyland. Well, as it turns out, Insta360 came out with these new microphones that have a little screen on them, an e-ink display, and you can put whatever picture you want on it. And I've been already looking at little screens that you can wear to bring to conferences, so that way you can have your little QR code or profile picture or whatever it may be. And that was something I was already looking for. This will actually replace the need for that. And I think even when you turn off the microphones, the screen stays on. So things like that I think are really interesting to kill two birds with one stone, and it'll help me upgrade my microphone. So I think that might be where I'll go in the near future. So again, that's kind of what's coming forward, where I want to work with more tech brands, especially on the creator channel side of things. I want to get more into the travel content here on this channel. And I think that my experience on this trip is actually, it made me want to sell that backpack. I already put it up for sale on Marketplace, and I'm looking at newer ones by Rework, the outbound one, 30 liters. And I think that even though it's smaller, it would actually be more useful to me on these trips. So I think that that'll be kind of an interesting dynamic, because I am talking about polymathy, I am talking about knowledge management, but I also talk about travel. And I think that the travel content can eventually become its own brand down the line. So I think that there's a lot of potential here in the content that I create, and I'm excited about that, which is why I wanted to mention it. Thanks for watching.